In this video, I'll explain the installation procedure of the NGA code. If you decided to use NGA code for your research project, um, obviously this NGA is the code that you need to use. But in order to install NGA in either laptop or computing cluster, you need to install all three of these, the libraries and codes. The first one is the prerequisites, and the second one is called the LEAP. This is developed by the Professor Hussein Kasbawi at Arizona State University. I believe this didn't exist in the, the conventional NGA code, but he added this feature to the NGA code. But so you need to install this too. Then finally this NGA code. So I'm assuming that you have access to his repository in the Bitbucket, bitbucket.org. Then you need to email me about the getting access. Then I will forward that email to him, to Professor Kasbawi, so that you can be added to all three of these repositories. So in this video, I'll explain how to install these prerequisites. This is basically not any source code. This is basically all the bunch of the libraries. Okay. And I'm also assuming that you can access Bitbucket, and I'm assuming that you set up all the public keys for the computer you're using, so that you can download the repositories. Okay. So first, let's click the repositories. Repositories are where you keep all the codes, source codes. So in the project of the Dr. Kasbawi, KRG at ASU, there are three repositories. We need to install all of them. The first one you need to install is this prerequisites. So let's click this. And what's happening here, what is shown here is the name of the repository. And the very first thing you need to check if you enter any repository is which branch you are in. The default branch is shown here, which is the master here. Master is always the most stabilized branch of the codes. And right now, for prerequisites, we only have a single branch, which is the master. So we're going to download this one to the Sol cluster, which I'm assuming you to use. And you can just scroll down to see what kind of the files and directories we have in this particular repository called the prerequisites. So there are three files. README is documenting all the instructions. Usually you need to go over the README file. And there are two more files, sh, which is basically just a shell script file. You need to get used to what the shell script is. You can just simply Google it or check the Wikipedia if you want. And you need to go over this instruction. If you don't understand some of the terms, that's fine, but you need to go over them, okay? So these are just the bash scripts, and this helps you download and compile some of the libraries required by NGA in the lib. So that's why this is called the prerequisites. So this supports a bunch of the libraries shown here. It'll be nice if you know what they are doing, but if you don't know, then that's fine. You just need to do what you need to do is just to how to install these libraries. And there's some instruction, and I'll just walk you through about how to install and download and install this thing. So, and there's some instruction for the Agave cluster, which is probably the not functioning anymore as of say end of the 2023, and there's instruction for any Mac, say iMac or the MacBook. And there's some further information. I recommend you to go over all of these. So, but not all of them sound obvious. So in that case, you need to study, or you need to find the information so that how to understand all of these things. And here we have a repository. Then the next thing you need to do is to log in the Sol cluster. So last time in the last video, I set up this the alias so that I can log in the Sol cluster without typing the actual all the login information starting from SSH. I also talk about how to set up the login environment in which you don't have to type the password. So Sol is the alias that I define. Then I can just log in to the Sol cluster. And present working directory, it shows what is the path of this my home directory. And or you can just type show echo and home. Any variable starting with the $sign is called the environment variable. So this $home, capital home, it contains information about my home directory. This echo is just nothing but printing out a variable, contents of the variable. So again, ls is showing what you have in the current directory. I have nothing, so I need to download and install the prerequisites. So how do I do this? So I first create a directory called the codes. So I usually keep all the codes under this directory. So create the directory, and I want to go into the directory. Always use auto completion by pressing the tab. Maybe just type the first couple of letters or even the first letter, then press tab. And if you're going into the directory, then you can see this slash at the end. So then here, of course, I don't have anything because I just created. So then let's download the repository. Because we have only single branch, so I can just download everything. So press the clone button, and this thing is already selected. Basically, it is cloning the repository, and any comment starting with a git is basically the comment using this git features, because Bitbucket is the one of the repository relying on this git. So you see that the repository address here in the Bitbucket, and let's click this one, copy, and copy to clipboard, and let's go back to the terminal and simply paste it by pressing the Command and V. And what's happening here is the Git is cloning the prerequisites, and because I have only three text files, which are pretty small in size, and it takes no time to download all these files. Let's go back to the terminal and let's see if we really downloaded everything. So there is a name of the repository here, and again auto completion. And ls I do have three files. Okay, so okay, I successfully cloned the prerequisite repository, and if you type git branch, then you can see which branch you are in. You downloaded master, you are in the master, but in the Leaf installation, this is not really obvious. So, but just to double check, so I cloned it and I successfully downloaded everything. And before I actually do this installation, one more thing I recommend you to do is this. So you cloned it, but you downloaded the version. Sometimes you make a change in this code. So a best practice, based on my experiences, is that when you clone it, you at the same time you download the repository in a zip file and you keep it in your local computer. First to do it, follow me, then I'll explain you later. So download repository, and so as you can see, I keep all the NGA codes. So I'm actually using the bunch of the codes. Some of them I'm not using anymore, but here's the NGA directory, and I have all this numbering and so on. So here I'm trying to install the NGA code in the ASU Sol cluster. So I keep this prerequisites repository here. I'm going to save it in the form of the zip file here. It's completed. So this is because you make a change in the code, sometimes and later you want to install the same code in a different machine, or you want to install the same code all over again, and you download you download the code and you basically follow what you did, sometimes it doesn't work, okay? Then because maybe the original developer or collaborators made a change in the code, so it's possible that the code you download in the future may not be the same code you downloaded in the past. So, but keeping the original source code, the vanilla version without any modification is useful so that you can compare what type of changes were made in the future version of the repository, okay? So this is one of the tips which I'm always using, okay? So then, and of course the repository Bitbucket provides a way to go back and to the previous version, but I mean, it's always best to do this everything in kind of the old-fashioned way. Okay. So then what's next? So I downloaded the master branch. Then so I have two shell scripts, and the build configure.sh is what I need to execute. And I believe that the build third party is what I need to execute. Then how do I do this? Go to his website, and if there is a wiki, it's shown here, but looks like I don't have any wiki page here, just a instruction page, instruction information contained in the README file, which is also shown here. So you need to follow this thing, and then these libraries, the shell script file build underscore third party.sh, it will download the libraries that I prescribe here like this. So there are a bunch of the libraries. We need to specify which libraries we want to download and install. Downloading is fine, but when you install it, you need to compile these libraries. So to compile the code, you need to specify which compiler you're using. So Dr. Kaspari has some suggestion. So for the Soul cluster, which I'll be following, but this choice of the compiler and the MPI wrapper may change in the future, depending on any changes in the Soul cluster and so on. Okay, so which compiler do I have to use? So you can install the compiler on your own, but the best way to do it is to use the compiler installed in the cluster. So then how do I use the compiler? The first thing that we want to do is to show which module you loaded. So to check that, you need to type module list in Soul cluster. Then no modules are loaded because I didn't load anything. So then what type of the modules are available? So if I type module avail, then it shows everything already installed in this cluster. So we are interested in the loading a compiler, something like okay, not shown here. So if you see a more here, press the space key. Then here I see some of the libraries or compiler. Maybe this is not the compiler. And press the shift one more time because I see the more message here. Then I do see some GCC. I do see some MBA peach. This is the wrapper, MPI wrapper, and so on. And so which module do I have to download? Which module do I have to load? So this depends on the choice of the compiler and MPI wrapper in the NGA code, the downstream code that we'll be using. So let me briefly jump to the NGA so that I can get information about which compiler do I have to use. So here, there is a wiki page here. If you scroll down, the interface may look different depending on your web browser. So if I go to wiki, I believe there is a suggestion made by Dr. Kaspari. So here, when you are in the Soul cluster, your choice of the compiler and MPI wrapper is this one, GCC 11.2, OpenMPI 4.1.3 compiled against the GCC 11.2.0, okay? So this is something you need to use, okay? So let me copy and paste, and I'm in the Soul cluster. So what do I have here? So you load this pre-installed module in the cluster, and you need to load the compiler first. In this case, GCC is a compiler. It has the C and the Fortran compiler inside, but you need to load the compiler first, then MPI wrapper next. Okay, so then I type module list just to double check. So now I have this two loaded module because I just did it. Okay, so this is one way to do it. You can manually do it. Another way to do it is another way that I think is more neat is to have this information in your login shell. So if I show you my home directory, then there is a hidden file. I talked about this last time. There is a bash lc. This is the file. It's hidden because the first letter is starting with this period. This the shell this file contains all the information, and the lines are executed when you log in, when you open up the shell. Okay, so that's the way I'm going to use. So, but to do this, what I usually do is let me go to the home directory, and usually I create this the directory called the scripts, and I go in auto completion, and I'm creating a script for individual codes. So codes, and I will be creating the file called nga.sh. So again, this is a shell script because it's ending with the sh, and this will be executed so that I don't have to type these two, okay, module load manually. I want to execute this automatically whenever I log in. So, or whenever I execute this nga.sh. So I use the VI editor. So VI, and to insert, I press I, then I copy and paste. So I want to load the compiler and MPI wrapper. And before I do this, I want to erase any preloaded module. So you can do it by typing module purge. You delete any module that is already installed. Okay, escape, colon, and WQ. You write and quit. Then I created this nga.sh file. If you use a cat command, you can see what's inside. So I do have these 3 lines. So I'm going to do the module purge one more time just to show you. So module list, then no modules are loaded. So then I want to execute this nga.sh file. How do I execute it? This is just a text file. How do I execute a text file? So you change its attribute. So you change the permission so that a user, you can, +4 can, you basically add the feature, this capability of the running, executing. That's why you have X, and you want to execute this nga.sh, okay? Then if you type ls-al, you can see that now you have an X permission. You can execute, you can read, write, and execute, okay? For user, okay? I think the next 3 are for group, and probably the last 3 are for the everybody, okay? So if I execute, I have a /nga.sh, then it is executed. Then if I type module list, now okay, nothing is loaded. Maybe I did something wrong. Module list. If I do the module list, okay, because wait, nga module purge, module load, nga. Okay, why is not loading anything? There's something strange. Purge, module load. Okay, something's not right. Right? Okay. GSH, module list. Okay, maybe it didn't do anything. Because, okay, I know why it's not doing anything. So, scripts. Okay, so I want to borrow this so this is another cluster, the other cluster, which is probably retiring pretty soon. I have a similar environment here, Charles X.sh. So I forgot to have this one. This is the bash. So ngsh, I want to have it at the first line. Okay, escape wq and nga. Then okay, something's wrong. Okay, why is it not working? Module last. So CLS supposed to work. Then module. Did I change the switch mode UX NGA? It looks as if it's not really executed. Nothing is executed. So modules, no modules are loaded. nga.sh. Nothing is loaded. So it's strange. But anyway, so I'll probably talk about this later. Nga. So let's because it is installation about the prerequisite, let's bypass this thing. I'll talk about this later. Sorry about this. So I loaded compiler and module. So now I see that it's loaded. So let's go back to the prerequisites. So go to the home directory, go to codes, and I want to install the prerequisites. So now, like I said, I have a compiler and MPI wrapper. So what I want to install is the following libraries. So let's execute this thing. But before I execute this shell script, let's double check whether you can. This is executable. You can see that this third-party .sh file is executable. You can see that the user can execute. You can read and write and execute. So build third-party. I used auto-completion. So then the library, according to the Dr. Kaspary's the NGA wiki. So there are a few things you need to install, but what I learned is that you need to install these. So LAPACK, FFTW3, SGIP, zlib, Hyper, HDF5, HDF5P for parallel, probably, H5hot, and Siler. So if I type this thing, this build third-party.sh will download and compile using the compiler given here, specified here, and MPI wrapper here. You don't need to know. So first, press enter. You can see that the file is downloading the LAPACK, and it is unzipping the LAPACK. Okay. So let's just run it, and I'll explain. So these libraries will be downloaded and installed and compiled. And the bottom line is that you don't need to know what's going on, because if you're a developer, yes, you do need to know. But if you're a user, you don't need to understand all this line, because there is no way to understand everything. So, but at the same time, you just don't need to know how to execute this thing. You just don't need to know the input and output interface. Do not bother to understand everything, because it's not really possible. So now the code, the script is installing. You can see that it's compiling using Fortran, G-Fortran, the G for GNU. So it may take some time. So LAPACK is the linear algebra package, and as well as the Hyper. Again, all these flags and those things, options, it's going to take some time. to understand everything. If you have some sufficient experience, you can do it, but otherwise, and for now, it's just sufficient to just to run it, okay? The reason why I'm waiting is that I know that the one of the libraries will fail. So then otherwise I'll just go ahead and um, for other libraries, I'll just stop the video because you just can just wait. So, but still, I need to wait until I reach the one of the libraries where which it's not really properly installed using and that's the sort of the troubleshooting thing you need to know. So I just went ahead and um, installed currently the LAPACK is installing. So this will take some time. So maybe you can play it faster, maybe 2 or 3 times faster. And when you do the installation, you don't have to wait just like me in front of the screen because I'm sitting in front of the screen because I need to explain something. But you can, in your case, you can just step out or you can do something else, something more productive than just waiting. Okay, so now we are leaving, and you can see that the static library ending with extension A is created. So now we are leaving so it looks like a LAPACK installation is nearly done. So now we are moving to the FFTW here. So this will take much less time than the LAPACK. So FFTW for fast Fourier transform. I believe NGA uses fast Fourier transform to solve the Poisson equation for pressure. Again, do not bother to try to understand everything here because it won't be possible to understand everything. Just need to know how to install the packages and libraries and use it to call the function. In the same way as a LAPACK, a static library for FFTW will be created. I'll talk about this later. So all these libraries will be used, and they will be the reference by the NGA code. Okay, so I think we're done. So we're leaving the directory and, oh wait, are we? Oh yeah, we are in FFTW here. I think it's installed. Yeah, okay. Right now we are installing the SZIP. I actually don't know what SZIP is doing. I just don't know how to install it. So, and when you compile, if you see this kind of warning sign, okay. So if you see any warning sign, warnings can be ignored when you compile. If you see error, compilation will stop, but warnings can be ignored. But definitely there is an error. So it looks like the SZIP was compiled pretty quickly. And however, there is some issue with zlib, the force, the library that we are supposed to compile. And let's analyze the error message. We are building zlib. We're checking, but unable to find the build directory. We are downloading and compiling. We are trying to download the file from here, zlib 1.2.12, but it looks like we downloaded. Let's type ls. We did download it. So did we really download it? It looks like it's too small. The file size is only 315 bytes. I think that something went wrong. So therefore, let's go ahead and to check it. So let's go to this zlib.net website. So in your web browser, so I actually already did it because I know it's gonna fail. So this is a zlib, the website. Let's go there, and it looks like the current release is 1.3, not the 1.2.12. So then let's change this version number so that it works. Okay. So how do I do this? So it's probably in the build underscore configure.sh. Let's copy and paste, and we have more information. The information we have is that what type of the compiler we're using. So, and we loaded the GNU compiler in Soul cluster, and there are some compilation flags and optimization and all kinds of different things. And we have information about the MPI wrapper, those the environment variables starting with MPI. And we have this lib underscore dir. This is where you install all these libraries. And we have a bunch of other information, and there is a download links provided here. So if let's find the zlib. So in press escape in Boy editor /glib and press N to find the next. So now you see that the version we specified in the initially by Dr. Kassow is a 1.2.12. So let's change it to 1.3. Press X, delete. You press I to insert 1.3. Escape, colon, write, and quit. So let's repeat this, and you can invoke the previous command by pressing the upper arrow key. So then previous, the one before, the one before, the one before. So you don't have to reinstall the LAPACK NF50W3 and glib because the sgib, because the glib is where everything failed. So use your arrow key, move to the left, and erase using backspace the first three libraries because it took some time to install these three libraries. So we are restarting from glib. Okay, I edited the build underscore configure.sh. Now we are installing glib. Let's see if it works. So now it's downloading, and downloading is successful because we are trying to download the current version. So this will be successful. Actually, the glib is already over. Hi, Pri. Hi, Pri takes some time, so I'll stop my video here. But I had some issue. I need to resolve this thing, but I'll talk about this in the next video.